Dr. Jihoon Park stood in front of the large window of the research ship New Seoul. Outside, the stars moved slowly as the ship traveled through space. He held a thick folder in his hands. The folder contained everything the galaxy knew about the creatures they were going to study. The creatures were called the Umbrothi. Jihoon had read the reports many times. Each time he felt more curious about these beings. The reports said the Umbrothi were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. They lived on a planet called Kythera Prime. No one was allowed to go there. The Galactic Council had made strict rules about this planet. Captain Minji Kim walked up to Jihoon. She looked worried. Minji had been the captain of the New Seoul for 5 years. She was brave, but she always cared about her crew's safety. "The communications room is calling for you," Minji said. "The Velkar High Counselor wants to talk too." "Us again," Jihoon nodded. This was the 3rd time this week that the aliens had tried to contact them. They all wanted the humans to change their minds about the mission. In the communications room, Dr. Hannah Lee was already waiting. She was the ship's behavioral specialist. She studied how different creatures acted and thought. Next to her stood Commander Taemin Choi, the security chief. His job was to keep everyone safe. The large screen turned on. A tall alien with blue skin appeared. His name was High Counselor Nethan. He belonged to the Velkari race. The Velkari were known for being very smart and careful. "Dr. Park," Nathan said. His voice sounded tired. "I am asking you one more time. Please do not go to Kythera Prime. Your species is still young. You do not understand the danger." Jihoon sat down in front of the screen. "Counselor Nethan, we appreciate your concern. But we have studied all the reports. We believe we can learn something new about the Umbrothi." Nathan's large eyes became wider. "Learn something new?" "Dr. Park, 17 different species have tried to study these creatures. None of them succeeded. Most of them died." Hannah leaned forward. "What exactly happened to those expeditions?" "The Umbrothi destroyed them," Nethan said. "These creatures are not like anything in your galaxy. They are made of living darkness. They have many eyes that can see into different dimensions. They can move through solid walls. They cannot be stopped by weapons or barriers." Temin crossed his arms. "Every dangerous animal can be understood if you know how to approach it." "Are not animals?" Nethan said loudly. "Umbrothi are something else. They hate all life. They attack without reason. Cannot be talked to or reasoned with." Jihoon looked at his team. He had worked with Hannah for 3 years. She was the best behavioral specialist he knew. Temin had protected them on 12 different missions to dangerous planets. Minji was a skilled captain who always brought her crew home safely. Counselor Jihoon said calmly, "Can you tell us about the last expedition that went to Kythera Prime?" Nethan was quiet for a moment. It was the Zephyrian military. They sent their best warriors. They had the strongest weapons and the most advanced technology. The Umbrothi killed all of them in less than 6 hours. "How did they die?" Hannah asked. "The reports are not clear," Nethan admitted. "The Zephyrian soldiers sent messages saying the creatures were everywhere. They said the Umbrothi moved like shadows and attacked from all directions. Then the messages stopped." Jihoon opened his folder. He pulled out a data pad and showed it. "To Nethan, we have been studying the video recordings from that mission. The Umbrothi did not attack immediately. They watched the Zephyrian soldiers for almost 2 hours first. Were planning their attack," Nethan said quickly. "Maybe," Jihoon said. "Or maybe they were trying to understand what the soldiers wanted." Nethan looked shocked. "Dr. Park, the Umbrothi cannot be understood. They are not intelligent in the way we think of intelligence. They are driven by instinct and hunger." Hannah spoke up. "But the recordings show they have social structures. They move in groups with clear leadership. They communicate with each other. Using sounds and body language proves nothing," Nathan said. "Many dangerous creatures hunt in packs." Captain Minji stepped forward. "Counselor Nethan, we understand you are trying to protect us. But humans have a different way of approaching unknown creatures. We do not always use weapons first. Your species is known for being reckless," Nethan said. "You take risks that other species would never take. It's this time that behavior will get you killed." Jihoon stood up. We are not being reckless. We have spent 6 months preparing for this mission. We have studied every available report. We have new equipment and new methods. What methods? Nathan asked. Patience, Ji-hoon said simply. Every expedition to Cathara Prime has tried to control or capture the Umbrathi. We want to observe them, want to learn how they live and what they need. Nathan was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Dr. Park, I have lived for 200 years. I have seen many species rise and fall. I have watched brave beings die because they did not listen to warnings. The Umbrathi are not a mystery to be solved. They're a threat to be avoided. What if they are not a threat? Hannah asked. What if they are just misunderstood? Then the galaxy has been wrong for thousands of years, Nathan said. And that is not possible. The communication ended. The screen went black. The room was quiet. Temin spoke first. He's really scared of these creatures. All the aliens are scared of them, Minji said. Maybe they have good reason to be. Ji-hoon looked at his team. Are we making the right choice? Hannah nodded. Every species in the galaxy has tried to fight the Umbrathi. No one has tried to understand them. If we are wrong, we will leave immediately, but if we are right, we might change everything. Taman checked his weapons. My job is to keep everyone safe. I will do that no matter what we find on Cathara Prime. Minji walked to the window. We are 3 days away from the planet. If anyone wants to change their mind, now is the time. No one spoke. They all knew the risks. But they also knew that humans were different from other species. Humans had always been curious about the unknown. They had always tried to find peaceful solutions before using force. Young researcher Kyung-ho Nam entered the room. He was excited about the mission. Dr. Park, I have finished analyzing the atmospheric data from Cathara Prime. The air is safe for humans to breathe. Ji-hoon smiled. Good work, Kyung-ho. Make sure all our equipment is ready. As the new soul continued its journey through space, Ji-hoon looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was a planet full of creatures that the entire galaxy feared. In 3 days, he would meet them face to face. He wondered what they would really find on Cathara Prime. The new soul entered the atmosphere of Cathara Prime just as the sun was rising. Dr. Ji-hoon Park watched from the bridge as the planet appeared below them. The surface was covered in gray rocks and dark valleys. Strange mist moved across the ground like living things. Landing site confirmed, Captain Minji Kim announced. Setting down in the northern valley. All crew prepare for surface operations. Commander Teemin Choi was already suited up in his protective gear. Security teams are ready? Defensive perimeter will be established in 10 minutes. Dr. Hannah Lee checked her observation equipment one last time. Behavioral monitoring systems are online. We should be able to record everything the creatures do. The ship touched down with a soft thud. Through the windows, they could see the alien landscape. Everything was quiet. No movement. No sounds. The planet seemed empty. Remember, Ji-hoon said to his team, we are here to observe, not to fight. If the Umbrathi appear, we stay calm and watch their behavior. Young researcher Kyung-ho Nam was excited but nervous. Dr. Park, what if they attack us immediately like the reports said? Then we follow emergency protocol and return to the ship, Ji-hoon answered. But let us hope they give us a chance to understand them first. The crew began setting up their base camp. Teeman's security team placed energy barriers around the landing site. These barriers were supposed to stop the Umbrathi if they tried to attack. The research team set up their observation equipment and communication devices. Dr. Hannah Lee was looking at her sensors when she noticed something strange. The atmospheric readings are changing. There is movement in the air about 2 kilometers away. Ji-hoon looked at the data. What kind of movement? I am not sure, Hannah said. The sensors show large shapes moving through the mist. They're coming. This way, Temin immediately ordered his team to take defensive positions. All security personnel prepare for contact. Remember, these creatures can move through solid objects. The mist in the distance began to move differently. It swirled and twisted as if something was disturbing it. Then they saw the first shadow. Umbrathi emerged from the mist like living darkness. They were huge, at least 3 meters tall. Their bodies seemed to be made of black smoke that constantly shifted and changed shape. Multiple eyes glowed like stars throughout their dark forms. Some had 6 eyes, others had 12 or more. There are so many of them, Kyunho whispered. At least 20 Umbrithi had appeared around their camp. They moved without making any sound. Their forms flowed like water, but they seemed solid when they wanted to be. The creatures circled the human base slowly, always staying just outside the energy barriers. They are not attacking, Hannah observed. They're studying us. Ji-hoon watched the creatures carefully. The reports had described them as monsters, but their behavior seemed more curious than aggressive. Look at their body language, he said. They are not in attack positions. The largest Umbrothi moved closer to the barrier, its many eyes focused on Ji-hoon. The creature made a low sound that was almost like singing. The other Umbrothi responded with similar sounds. They are communicating, Hannah said excitedly. This is the first time anyone has recorded Umbrathi communication. Taemin kept his weapon ready, but did not point it at the creatures. They have been watching us for 15 minutes. According to the reports, they should have attacked by now. The Umbrathi continued to circle the camp. Their movements were graceful and coordinated. They seemed to be working together, but not in a threatening way. Some of the smaller creatures stayed behind the larger ones, like children hiding behind their parents. Dr. Park Kyung-ho said, I think they are protecting their young. Ji-hoon looked more carefully at the group. The smaller Umbrathi did seem younger. They moved with less control than the adults. Their eyes were brighter and more active. If they are protecting their families, Ji-hoon said, then they are not mindless monsters. They are intelligent beings with emotions. One of the adult Umbrothi moved very close to the barrier. It extended part of its dark form toward the energy field. When it touched the barrier, there was a bright flash of light. The creature pulled back, but was not hurt. It was testing our defenses, Taemin said, but not aggressively. It just wanted to understand what the barrier was. Hannah was recording everything. This behavior is completely different from what other species reported. They described immediate attacks and violence. These creatures seemed curious about us. The largest Umbrathi made another singing sound. This time it was longer and more complex. Several other creatures responded with their own songs. The sounds were beautiful in a strange way. They are having a conversation, Ji-hoon realized. They are discussing us. Kyunho was so interested in watching the creatures that he forgot to be careful. He moved too close to the barrier while adjusting his recording equipment. His datapad slipped from his hands and fell outside the protective field. Kyunho, stay back, Taemin ordered. Do not leave the barrier. See the datapad. Lay on the ground just 2 meters away from the barrier. It was also only 3 meters away from the nearest Umbrothi. According to all the reports, the creature should have destroyed the device or used it to attack the humans. Instead, something unexpected happened. The closest Umbrathi moved toward the datapad slowly. Its dark form flowed around the device. For a moment, the creature seemed to be examining it. Its eyes glowed brighter as it studied the human technology. Then very gently, the Umbrathi pushed the datapad back toward the barrier. It used part of its form to slide the device across the ground until it was close enough for Kyunho to reach. The entire human team stood in silence. No one could believe what they had just seen. It gave it back, Kyunho whispered. Gave my datapad back. Hana was already analyzing the recording. There was no aggression in its movements. It was careful not to damage the device. It suggests intelligence and possibly even kindness. Taemin lowered his weapon slightly. This is not what we expected, the Umbrathi that had returned the data. Pad moved back to its original position. It made a soft singing sound. The other creatures responded with gentle sounds of their own. I think it was being polite, Ji-hoon said. It returned something that belonged to us and then moved away too. Show it meant no harm. For the next hour, the Umbrathi continued to observe the humans. They showed no signs of aggression. Some of the younger creatures seemed playful, moving in circles and making happy sounds. The adults watched the humans with what appeared to be curiosity. As the sun began to set, the Umbrothi started to move away. They disappeared into the mist, one by one. The largest creature was the last to leave. Before it went, it looked directly at Ji-hoon and made a long musical sound. I think it was saying goodbye, Hannah said. When the creatures were gone, the human team gathered to discuss what had happened. This changes everything, Ji-hoon said. The Umbrathi are not monsters. They are intelligent beings who have been misunderstood. Taemin nodded. They had every chance to attack us, but they chose not to. They were curious about us, just like we were curious about them. Minji contacted the ship, Port to Earth Command. First contact with Umbrathi was peaceful. No hostile actions observed. Request permission to continue observations. As night fell on Kithara Prime, the human team prepared for the next day. They had learned more about the Umbrathi in one day than the galaxy had learned in thousands of years. The creatures were not the monsters everyone believed them to be. The next morning, Dr. Ji-hoon Park woke up with a new plan. He had spent the night thinking about the Umbro. Their behavior was nothing like the reports described. He believed there was more to learn about these creatures. I want to go outside. The barrier, Ji-hoon announced to his team during their morning meeting. Captain Minji Kim nearly dropped her coffee. Are you insane? We have been here for one day. We do not know enough about them yet. Commander Temin Choi shook his head. Dr. Park, my job is to keep you safe. I cannot let you leave our protected area. Dr. Hannah Lee looked worried. Ji-hoon, even if the creatures seemed peaceful yesterday, we cannot be sure they will act the same way today. Young researcher Kyun Cho-nam spoke up. What if they only acted nice because we stayed behind the barrier? What if they become dangerous when someone gets too close? Ji-hoon understood their concerns. But he had studied animal behavior for 15 years. He knew that real understanding required taking calculated risks. Listen to me, Ji-hoon said calmly. Every species that came here before us brought weapons and tried to control the Umbrathi. We have seen that they respond differently to peaceful behavior. I want to try something new. What exactly do you want to try? Mingi asked. I want to sit outside the barrier and observe them without any protection, Ji-hoon explained. No weapons, no barriers, no threatening behavior. Just patience and respect. Taemin stood up. That is suicide. You will be completely defenseless. Not defenseless, Ji-hoon corrected. Peaceful. There is a difference. Hannah was looking at her. Data from the previous day, the Umbrathi did show signs of intelligence and curiosity, but we still do not understand their full range of behaviors. That is exactly why I need to try this, Ji-hoon said. We cannot learn about them from behind a barrier. We need to show them that we trust them. The team argued for another hour. Finally, Mingi made a decision. If you are going to do this, we will monitor you constantly. At the first sign of danger, you come back immediately. Taemin was not happy, but he agreed to let Ji-hoon try. I will have my weapons ready. If anything goes wrong, I will come out to get you. Fair enough, Ji-hoon said. At noon, the Umbrathi appeared again. They came from the same direction as before, moving silently through the mist. Were more of them. Ji-hoon counted at least 30 creatures of different sizes. The largest Umbrathi took its position near the barrier. It seemed to be the leader of the group. Its many eyes focused on the human camp, but its body language was relaxed. They are back, Hannah observed, and they brought more family members. Ji-hoon put on his lightest protective suit. He took no weapons, no recording equipment, and no communication devices. He wanted to approach the creatures as simply as possible. Remember, he told his team, do not interfere unless I am in immediate danger. Ji-hoon walked to the barrier controls and turned off a small section. The energy field flickered and went dark in that area. He stepped through the opening. The moment his foot touched the ground outside the barrier, every Umbrathi in the area turned to look at him. Their eyes glowed brighter. Some of them made low sounds. They are communicating about you, Hannah said, through his helmet radio, but they do not sound alarmed. Ji-hoon walked slowly away from the barrier. He moved about 20 meters into the open area and then sat down on a large rock. He did not look directly at the creatures. He did not make any sudden movements. He simply sat quietly and waited. For the first hour, nothing happened. The Umbrathi watched him, but they did not come closer. They seemed to be trying to understand what he was doing. Any change? Mingi asked through the radio. No, Ji-hoon replied quietly. They are observing me, just like I am observing them. The second hour, some of the smaller Umbrathi began to move. They circled around Ji-hoon at a distance, always staying about 50 meters away. They seemed curious, but cautious. The young ones are more interested in you, Hannah noted. That is a good sign. Young animals are usually more trusting. By the third hour, Ji-hoon was starting to feel tired. Sitting still for so long was harder than he had expected. But he noticed that the Umbrathi were also relaxing. Some of them had settled down on the ground. Others were making soft singing sounds. They are not seeing you as a threat, Hannah said. Their body language is much more relaxed than yesterday. Then something interesting happened. One of the smaller Umbrathi moved closer to Ji-hoon. It approached very slowly, stopping every few meters to see if he would react. When Ji-hoon remained still, the creature came even closer. There is one coming toward you, Taemin said through the radio. You want me to come out? No, Ji-hoon replied. Let it approach. It is not showing any aggressive behavior. The young Umbrathi came within 10 meters of Ji-hoon. It made a soft sound, almost like a question. Its eyes were focused on him, but they were not threatening. Ji-hoon very slowly turned his head to look at the creature. When their eyes met, the Umbrathi did not run away. Instead, it made another soft sound and took a step closer. To communicate with you, Hannah said excitedly. This is the first recorded attempt at direct communication between an Umbrathi and another species. More Umbrathi began to move closer. They formed a loose circle around Ji-hoon, but they were not trapping him. They seemed to be curious about this strange being who was not afraid of them. The largest Umbrathi, the one Ji-hoon thought was the leader, began to move. It approached slowly and carefully, its many eyes fixed on Ji-hoon. When it was about 5 meters away, it stopped and made a long musical sound. It sounds like a greeting, Hannah said. The tone is not aggressive. It seems almost ... friendly. Ji-hoon decided to try something. He very slowly raised his hand and waved gently at the creature. The Umbrathi watched his movement carefully. Then, to everyone's amazement, it moved part of its dark form in what looked like a wave back. Did it just wave at you? Kung-ho asked in disbelief. I think it did, Ji-hoon said. It is copying my behavior. That shows intelligence and a desire to communicate. The leader Umbrathi moved even closer. It extended part of its form toward Ji-hoon, like a tentacle made of dark smoke. The appendage stopped just inches from Ji-hoon's outstretched hand. It wants to touch you, Hannah said. But it is being careful, is asking permission. Ji-hoon looked at the creature's many eyes. He could see intelligence there and curiosity and something that might have been hope. Very slowly he moved his hand forward until it touched the Umbrathi's extended form. The contact was strange. The creature's form felt warm and soft, like touching a cloud. But it was definitely solid. The Umbrathi made a sound that was almost like a sigh of relief. Contact established, Ji-hoon said quietly. It is not trying to hurt me. It just wanted to understand what I was. The other Umbrathi moved closer. Some of them reached out to touch Ji-hoon gently with their own forms. They were curious about his suit, his helmet, and his equipment. This is incredible, Minji said. You were the first person to make peaceful physical contact with an Umbrathi. The sun began to set. The Umbrathi started to move away. But before they left, the leader creature made a series of complex sounds. It seemed to be speaking to Ji-hoon directly. I think it is saying goodbye, Ji-hoon said, and maybe inviting me to come back tomorrow. When the creatures were gone, Ji-hoon returned to the barrier. His team was amazed by what they had witnessed. Oh, you... Did it? Hannah said. You made contact with them. This is just the beginning, Ji-hoon replied. Tomorrow, we will try to learn more about their language and their society. As night fell on Cathara Prime, the human team prepared their reports. They had proof that the Umbrathi were not monsters. They were intelligent beings who had been waiting for someone to treat them with respect and understanding. The breakthrough had been made. Now the real work could begin. 3 days had passed since Dr. Ji-hoon Park made first contact with the Umbrath. Each day, more progress was made. The creatures now came to visit the human camp regularly. They no longer seemed afraid or suspicious. Ambassador Sun Mi-yoon had arrived on a fast ship from Earth. She was responsible for documenting first contact with new species. Her job was to make sure everything was recorded properly for the Galactic Council. "This is the most peaceful first contact in human history," Sunmi said as she watched the Umbrathi approach the camp. "They are acting like they want to be friends." "No, Doctor." Hannah Lee had been studying the creature's behavior patterns for days. She had discovered something important. "The Umbrathi have a complex social structure," she explained to the team. "The large one that Jihoon touched first is definitely the leader. The others follow its decisions." The leader Umbrathi had become comfortable with Jihoon. Each day it came closer to the human camp. Jihoon had started calling the creature Hanyul, which meant sky in Korean. The name seemed fitting for a being made of flowing darkness. "Hanyul is trying to teach us something," Jihoon said during their morning meeting. Yesterday, it kept pointing toward those ruins in the distance. The ruins were ancient stone structures about 2 kilometers from their camp. No one had paid much attention to them before. They looked like old buildings that had been empty for thousands of years. "Maybe the Umbrathi want to show us something," young researcher Kung Ho Nam suggested. "They might be trying to communicate." About their history, Commander Temin Choi was more cautious. "It could be a trap. We should not follow them too far from our ship." "I do not think it is a trap," Hannah said. "Their body language shows trust and excitement, not deception." That afternoon, when the Umbrathi arrived for their daily visit, Hanyul did something new. Instead of staying near the camp, it moved toward the ruins and then looked back at the humans. It made a series of musical sounds and gestured with part of its form. "It wants us to follow," Jihoon realized. "It is inviting us to come with it." Sunmi was recording everything. "This is unprecedented. The creature is actively trying to show us something important." After much discussion, the team decided to follow Hanyul to the ruins. Taemin insisted on bringing security equipment, but they agreed to keep weapons hidden unless there was real danger. The walk to the ruins took about 30 minutes. Along the way, more Umbrathi joined them. Soon, there were over 40 creatures moving alongside the human team. It felt like a peaceful parade. "They are excited," Hannah observed. "Look at how they are moving. They want to share something with us." When they reached the ruins, Jihoon understood why the Umbrathi had brought them there. The ancient buildings were not empty. They were full of technology that was still working after thousands of years. In the center of the ruins was a massive crystal structure. It glowed with soft blue light and hummed with energy. Strange symbols covered its surface, and it pulsed with a steady rhythm. "What is that thing?" Kung Ho asked in amazement. Hanel moved to the crystal and touched it gently with part of its form. The crystal's light became brighter, and the symbols on its surface began to change. New patterns appeared, showing what looked like star maps and mathematical equations. "It is some kind of ancient computer," Sunmi said. "But it is more advanced than anything we have ever seen." Hannah was studying the Umbrathi's behavior around the crystal. "Look at how they are acting. They're not just showing us this technology. They are protecting it." "Ah!" The other Umbrathi had arranged themselves in a circle around the crystal. They stood like guards, but their posture was not aggressive. They seemed to be performing a duty that was very important to them. "Our guardians," Jihoon realized. "The Umbrathi are not just living on this planet. They are protecting this ancient technology." Hanul made a series of complex sounds while pointing at the crystal and then at the sky. It repeated the same pattern several times. "It is trying to tell us something about space," Hanul said. "Sounds and gestures are related to the star maps on the crystal." Jihoon approached the crystal carefully. When he got close, the symbols changed again. Now they showed what looked like a diagram of their local star system, but something was wrong with the picture. "There is a black hole near here," Jihoon said, studying the display. "But according to our star charts, there should not be one in this area." Sunmi checked her datapad. "Our maps do not show any black holes within 50 light years of this system." Hanyal touched the crystal again. This time, the display showed what would happen if the black hole moved closer to their star system. Planets would be destroyed. Star systems would collapse. Millions of beings would die. Crystal is a warning system, Jihoon understood. It monitors the black hole and predicts its movement. But there was more. Crystal also showed how to prevent the disaster. It could generate a special energy field that would keep the black hole stable and far away from populated systems. The Umbrathi had been operating this system for thousands of years, Hannah said in amazement. They had been protecting the entire galaxy without anyone knowing it. Hanyul made more sounds, and the other Umbrathi responded. Their communication was becoming clearer to the human team. The creatures were not just making random noises. They had a real language based on musical tones and harmonic frequencies. They are discussing us, Hannah said. I think they are trying to decide if they can trust us with this secret. Jihoon approached Hanyul slowly. He looked into the creature's many eyes and spoke clearly. We understand. You are protecting everyone. We want to help. Even though Hanyul could not understand human words, it seemed to understand Jihoon's meaning. The creature made a warm sound and touched Jihoon's hand gently. They have been alone for so long, Sunmi said. All this time, they have been carrying this huge responsibility by themselves. More Umbrathi arrived at the ruins. Soon, there were over 100 creatures surrounding the humans, but instead of feeling threatened, the human team felt welcomed. The Umbrathi were sharing their most important secret. This changes everything we know about them, Kunko said. They are not monsters or dangerous animals. They are heroes. Hanyul showed them more functions of the crystal. It could communicate with other systems across the galaxy. It could predict natural disasters. It could even help coordinate space travel for advanced civilizations. The previous expeditions that came here, Taman realized, the Umbrathi probably tried to show them this technology too. But those expeditions brought weapons and tried to fight. The Umbrathi were not attacking those expeditions, Hannah agreed. They were trying to protect their sacred duty. When threatened, they defended themselves and their responsibility. The sun began to set. The Umbrathi performed what looked like a ceremony around the crystal. They sang together in perfect harmony, their voices creating beautiful music that made the crystal glow brighter. They are maintaining the system, Jihoon realized. This is how they keep it working. They use their voices and their energy too. Power the ancient technology. The ceremony lasted for an hour. During that time, the humans watched in respectful silence. They were witnessing something that had been happening for thousands of years. The Umbrathi had dedicated their entire civilization to protecting the galaxy. When the ceremony ended, Hanyul approached Jihoon again. This time, its communication was different. The sounds it made were softer and more personal. Other Umbrathi joined in, creating a conversation that seemed to include the humans. They are accepting us, Hannah said with tears in her eyes. They are treating us like part of their community. As they walked back to the camp that evening, the Umbrathi escorted them like old friends. Some of the younger creatures played around the humans, making happy sounds and gentle movements. We have to report this to the Galactic Council, Sunmi said. The entire galaxy needs to know what the Umbrathi have been doing. They also need to know that these creatures are not enemies, Jihoon added. They are the galaxy's protectors. That night, as the human team prepared their reports, they knew their mission had become something much bigger than they had expected. They had not just made contact with a new species. They had discovered the guardians of galactic safety. The Umbrathi were not untamable. They were simply waiting for someone who would understand their true purpose. 2 weeks had passed since the humans discovered the truth about the Umbrathi. The relationship between the two species had grown stronger every day. Dr. Jihoon Park now spent most of his time with Hanyul and the other Umbrathi, learning their language and customs. Dr. Hannah Lee had made an important discovery about how the Umbrathi communicated. Their language is based on harmonic frequencies, she explained to the team. Each tone has a different meaning. When they combine tones, they create complex ideas. Young researcher Kung Ho Nam had been working with some of the younger Umbrathi. The young ones are teaching me their games, he said excitedly. They play by changing their shapes and making music together. Ambassador Sunmi Yoon had been sending daily reports to Earth and the Galactic Council.
Ow.
The news was spreading throughout the galaxy.
Ow.
For the first time in thousands of years, someone had made peaceful contact with the Umbrath. From other species has been incredible, Sunmi reported. Everyone wants to know how we did it. Some alien leaders are even apologizing for their previous attacks on the Umbrathi. Captain Mingy Kim was monitoring space around Kithara Prime. Several alien ships had arrived to observe what was happening. "We have visitors," she announced. 3 Velkari ships, 2 Zephyrian cruisers, and an Andromedian research vessel.
Commander.
Temin Choi was concerned about the alien ships. "Are they here to help or to interfere?" "Probably both," Minji replied. "High Counselor Nethan has requested permission to land and observe our interactions with the Umbrathi." That afternoon, something happened that showed just how much the Umbrathi trusted the humans. The planet's weather monitoring system detected a massive solar storm approaching. This type of storm could damage electronic equipment and even hurt living beings. "Everyone needs to get inside the ship," Taman ordered. "Storm will hit us in 30 minutes." But when the humans started moving toward their ship, Haniel and the other Umbrathi moved to block their path. The creatures were making urgent sounds and gesturing with their forms. "They do not want us to leave," Hannah observed. "But why?" "They must know about the storm." Ji-hoon approached Haniel carefully. "What is wrong? We need to protect ourselves from the solar radiation." Haniel made a series of complex sounds and then did something amazing. The creature began to glow with a soft, protective light. Other Umbrathi joined in, and soon all the creatures around the camp were glowing with the same energy. "They are creating a shield," Kyung-ho realized. "They are protecting us from the storm." The Umbrathi arranged themselves in a dome formation around the human camp. Their combined energy created a barrier that deflected the dangerous solar radiation. The storm passed over them harmlessly. "They risked themselves to protect us," Sunmi said in amazement. "They used their own energy to keep us safe." When the storm was over, the Umbrathi were tired but happy. They had successfully protected their human friends. Haniel approached Ji-hoon and made a warm musical sound that clearly meant friendship. "This is unprecedented," Minji said. "We have alien beings who are willing to risk their lives to protect humans. The bond between our species is stronger than we imagined." The next day, High Counselor Nethan arrived on the planet with a small delegation of Velkari scientists. He was nervous about meeting the Umbrathi, but curious about what the humans had accomplished. "Dr. Park," Nethan said as he left his ship, "I must admit I was wrong about your mission. What you have achieved here is remarkable." When the Umbrathi arrived for their daily visit, they saw the new aliens and became cautious. Of the creatures moved to protect the humans, positioning themselves between the Velkari and the human team. "They are protecting us," Hannah realized. "They see the Velkari as potential threats to their human friends." Ji-hoon spoke to Haniel in the musical language he had been learning. He explained that the Velkari were friends who wanted to understand the Umbrathi better. Haniel listened carefully and then communicated with the other creatures. After some discussion, the Umbrathi allowed the Velkari to approach, but they remained alert and ready to defend the humans if necessary. "This is extraordinary," Nethan said as he watched the interaction. "The Umbrathi are treating you like family members. They are protecting you the same way they protect their own young." The Velkari scientists were amazed by what they observed. The Umbrathi allowed them to study the ancient crystal technology, but only when humans were present to vouch for them. "They trust you completely," one of the Velkari scientists said to Ji-hoon, "but they do not trust us yet. You must earn their respect the way you did." That evening, something beautiful happened. The Umbrathi performed their daily ceremony to maintain the crystal technology, but this time they invited the humans to participate. Haniel taught Ji-hoon how to add his voice to their harmonic song. The sound of human and Umbrathi voices singing together was magical. The crystal responded to their combined energy, glowing brighter than ever before. "We are part of their community now," Hannah said with tears in her eyes. "They have accepted us as family." The Valkyrie delegation watched the ceremony in respectful silence. Many of them were moved by the peaceful cooperation between humans and Umbrathi. "We have been wrong about these creatures for thousands of years," Nethan admitted. "They are not monsters. They are guardians and protectors. Now they have chosen to share their burden with humanity Over the following days, more alien delegations arrived on Cathara Prime. Representatives from dozens of species came to witness the impossible friendship between humans and Cathar. The Emberthi were selective about who they trusted. They allowed peaceful observers to stay, but they refused to interact with any species that brought weapons or showed aggressive behavior. They can sense intentions, Jihoon explained to the alien visitors. The Umberthi know the difference between those who come in peace and those who come with hostile plans. Some of the alien visitors were skeptical. A Zephyrian military commander named Captain Krell insisted that the Umberthi were still dangerous. They are just waiting for the right moment to attack, Krell argued. No species can change their fundamental nature so quickly. To prove his point, Krell approached one of the younger Umbrathi in an aggressive manner, trying to provoke a violent response. Instead of attacking, young creatures simply moved away and called for adult protection. Haniel and several other adult Umbrothi immediately surrounded the young one. But they did not attack Krell. Instead, they created a protective barrier and waited for him to leave their young one alone. They are defensive, not aggressive, Jihoon pointed out. Even when threatened, they choose protection over violence. Captain Krell was forced to admit that the Umberthi's behavior was not what he expected. They could have destroyed me easily, he said, but they chose restraint instead. As the weeks passed, the bond between humans and Umbrathi continued to grow stronger. Some of the creatures began following individual humans around, forming personal friendships. Haniel had become especially attached to Jihoon. The large creature was almost always near the scientist, learning about human technology and culture. In return, Haniel taught Jihoon about Umbrathi history and their ancient responsibilities. He has adopted you, Hana laughed, as she watched Haniel follow Jihoon around the camp. You have a giant shadow creature for a best friend. It's a relationship was deeper than friendship. The Umbrathi had shared their most sacred secrets with the humans. They had accepted them as partners in protecting the galaxy. This partnership changes everything, Sunmi reported to Earth. Humanity now has allies who possess technology and abilities beyond our imagination. But more importantly, we have friends who trust us completely. As the sun set on another peaceful day on Cathara Prime, the humans and Umbrothi worked together. To maintain the ancient crystal technology, they were no longer separate species learning about each other. They'd become a family with a shared purpose. The galaxy's most feared creatures had become humanity's most loyal friends.